Друзья, всем еще раз привет, или уже как там, добрый день, добрый вечер.
Hello, guys.
Мы продолжаем нашу тему с докладами.
Let's proceed.
Сегодня такой прям
Now
очень интересный,
we'll have a very interesting
как вообще обеспечить
speech, CISO in the cloud, security processes in cloud and hybrid scenarios. And we'll have the CISO of Yandex Cloud, Evgeny Sidorov, to talk about this.
Спасибо. Всем привет.
Thank you, guys. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming
4 часа.
on a Saturday and staying until 4 p.m.
Тема доклада, она
Okay.
CISO в облаке от искусственного
CISO
честно говоря, как бы
in the cloud.
по-другому.
So we have some discrepancy between the topics. So we'll talk about the CISO, so how you start with the Motley collection and go all the way to a system. So we'll talk about the patchwork,
Одеяло.
so how we started with the patchwork, so what the team starts with when they deal with information security, when they have a new project, and how they kind of evolve to a system process, so to systematically establish some processes, controls, and so on and so forth. Well, a few words about myself.
Яндексе 13
I've been with Yandex for 13 years, and about,
в районе
say, from the time
с того момента.
Yandex Cloud was launched, I've been with them. So when we started showing it to the first client. So on one hand, I'm the CISO, the information security officer. On the other hand, I lead the development of security services. I've been somewhere between the development and security. So this has been my career so far. So we understand that CISOs, they usually deal with a huge number of things, and I have highlighted just a few of them. So the culture of communication, strategy and tactics, how it works, and process and controls, how we build this stuff, what it is made of. I'd like to share my experience, my vision, some tips and tricks of what I have witnessed as being a CISO. A disclaimer. So when you try to reuse someone's experience, please adopt critical thinking, because people have different circumstances, different input, and so on. Like in machine learning, you have garbage in and garbage out, so you should see whether the data you're using for training is of high quality, and the same holds true here. So please compare this to the premises we had and to compare it to your premises and see how it works. We'll start with culture and communications. Well, in Yandex Cloud, we have three basic pillars. The first one, safety, is a feature. So this is the feature of a product. It's part and parcel. No one wants to use a product which is of poor quality, unreliable, and nobody wants to use a product which is not secure. So security should be there from the outset. The second thing is a little bit counterintuitive. The product owner is responsible for security of the product. They cannot say, I'm developing the product and some security guys are responsible for making it secure. No, it shouldn't work like that. And the third thing, okay, the problem of the client is quickly converted into the problem of the provider. Okay, we understand that we have our own clients. We also care about the other clients, because usually if there is a problem, then it casts a shadow on the whole industry of public clouds. We want the industry to kind of develop further, not to be rolled back. Okay, the tips and tricks. So if you want to build the security culture, the CEO is your main kind of supporter. In Yandex Cloud, I've dealt with several CEOs, and when they ask me what kind of help I wanted from them, well, the answer would usually be that the most important way to help me is to promote the safety culture, to speak at the gatherings that kind of security is important, we should invest into this, and this is something everyone should invest in. And the third thing, well, we understand we have LNA, we have some big kind of rules and regulations. but it works best when you can quickly and concisely develop some clear rules. So we'll be talking about simplicity today. Like you shouldn't go around security controls. You cannot use the resources of the company to get richer. If you're not sure, ask the question in the chat. And the third one, so you should use positive examples. So if a developer finds a vulnerability in the service, you should mention it at the general meeting that this guy is good, he has found vulnerability and shared it. This happened. Our developer found vulnerability in the ClickHouse. He upstreamed the fixes and sent it to the bug bounty. So we have the performance review. So we usually kind of reward these guys. So he updated some component, and for this he can be liked from the InfoSec guys. Let's talk about communication. So when we mention this, it's nice to understand whom we are communicating with. In the field of project management, I kind of remembered the stakeholder management concept. You may highlight the parties concerned or the stakeholders, those who are interested in this or who kind of are in any way related to InfoSec. And today I'll be talking about the staff, the shareholders and top managers, well, regulators and clients will be mentioned some other time. Talking about the team, we should spread the knowledge about InfoSec. And we have two tools here. We have pre-recorded knowledge when we had a little team. So sometimes when you go on level 4 of the office, you could kind of talk to people physically, tell them what is required of them. But when the team grows, you cannot talk to everyone anymore. So we started drafting documents, and we have 3 major things. We have the cookbook. Well, this is a set of recipes. If you want to know how to do it properly in terms of InfoSec, go to the cookbook. They will have the recipes and descriptions why you should do it like that. Second set of documents is baseline, so they are better structured and formalized requirements. And the third one is regulations. So these are formal regulations which are usually used to deal with auditors. So we use this kind of trinity, and we ask the staff to read a cookbook. So if you don't know how to do it right, look at the cookbook. If you want to ask someone who's responsible for InfoSec, have a look at the cookbook first. Maybe it already has an answer for you. We also support our internal blog posts. We have their requests for comments. For instance, we are going to introduce this and that stuff. What kind of problems might it entail? How will it impact your processes? And this is what we want to do. So maybe we will consider your opinion when we design the process and so on. So we understand that it's impossible to kind of shoehorn all the diversity of life into books. Well, sometimes knowledge is intangible. We call it tribal knowledge. But for this, we have chats. We have the security and compliance chat. We have more than 1,000 people registered, those who work for Yandex Obloka, and this works great when people start answering the questions of other people. You don't necessarily need the security guy here. Sometimes the employees share their knowledge that, oh, okay, you have this question, and some other guy who has already done it can tell them how they did it or comes up with a ready solution. In our communication culture, all the documents I'm talking about are open for our staff, meaning that so we have the code, so anyone can send the pull request, we'll review it, and then we will share with them the documents, and we can also receive the pull request and change the documents accordingly after reviewing the request for change. Okay, the tips and tricks. So when we mention something in the chat, so we need to explain the solution, explain the premises, tell people why the decisions are made. And this way, this decision goes through your own critical thinking process, but also through the critical thinking process of the developers and other people. Sometimes they add some interesting things you missed out.
Вообще говоря, там оказывается, что надо делать по-другому. И тут же часто всплывает такая штука, как проблема XY. Это вот
And we often have this
мы
XY problem.
обсуждение
Sometimes we dig deeper in discussing a solution, but we should discuss the problem.
холивар на тему там
Like
пароль должен быть
how long should the password be in the account? But the initial question is that we need to protect the account. Maybe we don't need passwords. We need to use some stronger things.
ну, как бы сразу
So we start with formulating the problem, and only then we try to find
решение, не так, что
possible solutions. So we don't start with the solutions without preliminarily discussing what kind of problem we are solving, what we are defending from, and so on.
там
So when we have our chat,
люди начинают ссылаться
thus people start referring to this. Okay, you let this team do this, you don't let us do that.
в качестве,
For this, we have a rule. So it is a
не знаю, какой-то базовый общественный
non-precedent-based
прецедентный и некорректно
kind of
ссылаться на прецеденты в других командах.
legal framework. So
Сервис собирается
they have a different context. Maybe their system
на новую,
will be replaced in a month, and so on.
для каждой проблемы
So it means that every problem should be discussed on its own merit without any references to some other similar cases. And we have our duty officers, so we have the ISAC guys available, and you can tag the guy through a special bot, or if you need a response from this guys, so we can tag the guy for through this duty mechanism, and then he'll understand that here they need the support of the InfoSec experts.
в плане коммуникации классно работает.
In terms of communications, we have the cross-check with the leads of services. So if we roll out a process, it's great to bring together the leads of services, and we can explain it to them why we do things and why it is necessary. Sometimes we didn't do it, and they say, okay, you said, okay, it's a new process, then we introduce it, and then we have the details of questions going to the InfoSec team. It's difficult to explain everything to everyone. So when you talk to the service leads beforehand, we can consider the opinion or some issues which might emerge in their teams, and you can also ask the service lead to explain it to people what we are doing using the language they understand through the stand-up or through the regular team communication tools.
Еще одна вещь, которая классно
One more thing which works great would be kind of share with me your knowledge. So if we introduce something, it's great to look at the early adopters. People don't like doing things from scratch. They like taking some ready solutions and integrate them. So we have this kind of approach, share your knowledge, and this works really well. When we introduce something, we are looking for an early adopter, a champion, who will be the first to do it, and then share with the other guys how they did it, and maybe provide some further feedback.
Следующая категория стейкхолдеров
The next kind of type of stakeholders is top management.
формальный процесс, который обычно происходит по
So we have the
расписанию, но с теми
formal kind of process.
конечно, мы
So
общаемся, как бы
we
происходит.
deal with these guys more often than
Здесь коммуникация
iterations go. And
что
here,
из моего опыта, который я почерпнул, это вот, ну,
I would say that based on my experience,
простые примеры перед
some straightforward examples work well when you share kind of the essence of it.
объясни
Like sometimes you explain it, what is a Kubernetes safety, explain it in minutes, something like that.
Когда мы готовимся к таким
And
встречам,
when we
делаем упор не
prepare for meetings like that
то, чтобы
in our teams, we don't kind of try to speak to the slides. Well, we are focusing on the slides, the content preparation, the context, and we should also have a long list of reference materials because people usually have questions. So when I kind of was preparing for this event, the CTO gave me this good advice. Think what the first slide will look like, because sometimes it will determine whether discussion will proceed. Sometimes it happens unexpectedly. Here we have a link to one of the books I like in terms of engineering management, and so there they describe how to get ready for this. It's an elegant puzzle book, so please read it. I think it's a good set of engineering management
хорошо работает. За каждой
tools.
метрикой стоит физический смысл. Обычно
Then every metric has a physical
этот физический
kind
смысл
of
понятен.
idea. If this is not clear from the graph, so maybe the problem is with the graph.
На самом деле удобно
And sometimes,
удобно использовать
number metrics are not nice. Sometimes it's better to use some stages of maturity. So when you start with the targeted condition, and then you say we do the first this at the first stage, then at the second stage, and here is how we reach the results. For the KPIs,
держать яблоки с яблоками.
I try to compare apples to apples. So if I can convert something into money, that's what I usually do.
Яндекс.Клауд всего
In Yandex Cloud, we have only one set of KPIs for all the C level. Well, I looked for different speeches for this CISO school. Well, sometimes business kind of equalized us. They gave the information security service the same set of KPIs as all the other C guys. The C-level team.
В общем-то, у нас есть в Яндекс.Облаке C-level команда.
Well, we have the C-level team, we have the technical director, financial director, and information security director, or chief officer, the operational director, and so on. And these guys, well, they're your peers on one hand. On the other hand, they can give you some more input on what they understand in terms of security, what they expect. Some
В вопросах
people,
школы ЦИСа
I
поднимают
remember,
вопрос, как бы, а как узнать,
there have been some questions like,
информационной
how would you know what people want from information security? For me, the easiest way is just to ask people at some meetings, and sometimes you get interesting insights. Like ask the financial director, what's his view of the information security risks? So how much are they going to pay for a hedge against a given risk? And this way you understand how you can build the budget. And the third thing, Vladislav Ivanov, last year, I like his speech, by the way. He mentioned the importance of communications. Top managers can be unaware, and this is the worst thing for CISO. All the CEOs, you talk to them, and you ask them, what is the most important requirement from me as the CISO? So we should learn about the InfoSec issues from you, not from the news. This is really important. And one of my bosses would say, here is my direct line, call me anytime. Well, if you need to do it in the middle of the night, please do. Kind of wake me up, no problem. Okay, let's talk about strategy and tactics now. How it works for Yandex Cloud.
Мы подходим к стратегии, к формулированию формы
Well, we built the strategy
информационной безопасности примерно как подходит Microsoft в своей Secure Future.
like Microsoft does in their Secure Future initiative. They have some security pillars, and there they declare
Результата они хотят.
the results they want to achieve in these fields.
При таком подходе важно
And with this approach, it's important to answer the question, what? So you start with the what question, and then you follow with the how question. And if we cannot do something because we don't have resources now, it doesn't mean that this kind of goes off the table. It means that we should find resources rather than ignore this stuff. How did we do it? So on one hand, we took the top-down approach, the head of information security, like me, head of SOC, head of security and compliance. So we gathered this all together, and then we had a strategic session with the key people in the team, and we asked them for brainstorming so that we know their visions. And several results of this, several rounds of this brought us this security pillars, and then you can use it as a foundation for a strategy. Well, tips and tricks in terms of security strategy. It should be there for the whole organization. If you do it for yourself and don't build it in the organization, well, it is not going to work out. Okay, tactics. Strategy is a long-term thing. It's our guiding light. That's where we are going. But tactics would be about short-term steps.
Что мы делаем? Ну, во-первых, вещи и стратегии по security мы включаем в цели организации, которые там...
Okay, we add
цели организации, мы в переговорках.
Squeezed strategies. So we add this, and we have this in all negotiation rooms. We have there we have the goals, the KPIs, and this includes the security KPIs. This looks like the ORCA methodology. We have a cascaded set of goals. We try to build this goal tree. We want to make it flat. Well, it doesn't necessarily work out. But we have the team goals, the group goals, and the department goals, and the overall organization goals. So we try to cascade it all together so we can trace the whole way from the team goal to the business goal this team contributes to. In terms of governance, how does it work? So all C-level guys meet regularly. And from once a month, we consider the C-level dashboard. They will have a security block, so you should have a regular meeting. You should regularly consider the set of dashboards. And that's what we do to keep track of our information security. And we compare these indicators with other business health indicators available. Let's talk about some processes and controls. So when we build processes, we use the product approach. There is a great speech from Dima Godar last year. The business still needs you. That's more or less the title. So he talks about the product approach. We develop our information security tools on our own, so 90% would be our in-house, and we use two things here. We use the CAS-Dev. We have interviews with those who are going to develop the tools, and top footing. So we use this on our own. If we don't like this, we'll fix it, and then we'll use a good tool. At the same time, when we design a process for CAS-Dev, kind of a good approach would be to know how the adjoining departments run their processes or workflows. So how our process will impact them, if in any way. We also regularly get the feedback. Well, in the past, the feedback would be like talking in the corridor. People talk about some problems. But now we are trying to give it more structure. We have feedback forms. Comments and tickets and chat posts in Yandex. It's an open environment. If something works bad, the guy in the chat will somehow mention this. We also use NPS sometimes, but if we consider NPS, then you need some other metadata. like you get the NPS of 8, and those who don't deal with information security say it'll be 80% of these guys. They give you 10, and those who deal with information security regularly, they give you 1, and you get a similarly good result, but your sample is skewed and biased and not objective. So if we deal with NPS, we try to gather some metadata so that we can analyze the cohorts and understand in which cohort the real NPS kind of what it looks like.
мнение которых там в первую
I
очередь.
want to focus on the target audience.
Идем дальше в сторону процессов. Вот когда дизайните процессы безопасности, важно понимать, что security — это штука, с одной стороны,
Well, design of the processes. Well, security permeates all the organization, and the processes may speed up and slow down
пример, который
everything.
если там
Like,
сотрудники
an
получают
example, if your staff gets access,
заявки на доступ до
like,
проходит месяц или
and you need a month to get approvals, it means that the organization will be slow.
другой, наверное, быстрый
And another example, there are some companies
запрещают использование
who
публичных облаков, понятно, что они проигрывают в time to
at
market.
the policy level banned the use of public
Здесь, когда
clouds, so they lose in terms of time to market. When we talk about the design of information security processes,
этот процесс
the question is,
и
can it speed up and increase the security?
безопасные быстрые брейк.
We had the break glass tools, safe and quick. This is a way to go to production if some regular controls don't work. We have designed and we have a quick break glass mechanism to speed up the process and to reduce the resolve time for the IT incidents in production. We also have a good access to prod. We have a Bastion system recording the user sessions, and for this we have a client who doesn't just run the commands in production. It has several modes for this. Like it can run one of the same command in 10 VMs, then merge the results, aggregate them, and so on. And this convenience made this tool quite popular for all the developers. Now it's an industrial kind of standard. 99% of our developers use this, and we get
удобство при доступе в продакшн, при этом как бы, ну,
security when we go to production, and they get convenience.
понятно, что при дизайне
And this is a transparent system. When you design the processes,
что задизайнил один
well,
процесс,
you cannot design one process, and that's the way it's going to be forever. No, usually organizations change and develop, and we need some dead wood to abandon timely, and we usually get feedback on the security processes, and then you can prioritize which processes should be fixed and which should be cancelled altogether because they were designed long ago when the team was small and they don't bring anything useful. We use the PDCA approach, we use feedback gathering. Sometimes we come up with a quick fix so as we move ahead, and then we revise it and develop a more systematic solution, having gathered some feedback on the first version of the process. Process unification. So if the security guys design processes which are kind of far away from the rest of the organization, it is not going to work well. Well, quite often you don't need to develop a new process. You just twist and tweak the process you have. For instance, planning and demo processes. The security kind of team has the planning and demo process just in line with the rest of the organization. The incident management process. At any moment of time, the cloud has an incident manager. This role is subject to rotation, so this is an on-duty kind of role, and for all city managers, once a month I also take part in this, become an incident manager, and this guy is responsible for resolving all the incidents in the cloud, including IT and InfoSec issues. And in this regard, information security and development take part in one process. So a senior developer manager, our CTO, if there is an incident, InfoSec, he'll be the incident manager there. It doesn't mean that he should understand in detail the InfoSec, but he or she should, as a manager, help the incident response team so that they quickly resolve the incident so that we have good response and mitigation. We also have the process for launching a new service. So we didn't invent our own InfoSec process. We joined an existing system. So marketing will not start working until the security audit has been passed for this new service.
Позволяет нам здесь минимизировать усилия. Нам не надо думать.
This helps us minimize efforts. We don't need to think when the new service is launched and whether we'll see it or not. We just know a process that it should follow, and it would follow it, because there are other things on which it depends that it cannot skip as it moves along the process. Another example is our security Sentry, Security Sentinel. And we have people who are on duty, so to say, on particular products. And if there's an incident report,
так называемая железная женщина, которая робот, который
then we have a robot that would call the person on duty
среди ночи и говорит: смотри, у нас тут инцидент.
And tell them that there's an incident that we've got to resolve.
И когда вы унифицируете процессы, больше начинаете жить вместе с разработкой.
And when you unify processes, when you use the same processes with development, you come across what we call cross-pollination, when you can leverage the resources of other teams. For example, we have a SOC that monitors the status of security, and that's the shift of duty that monitors the overall security of all services. And many services have alerts on 500. And when an attacker tries to attack, they will delete services. And then our robot would respond, and the person on duty will see an anomaly, and they would report it to the SOC. So with very simple instructions, you can expand your security not just on your SOC, but also on all the other services. And because we have one incident response approach and everyone knows how it works, it's very convenient when you get in touch with the people on duty in other services when you resolve. Say there's an incident with managed PostgreSQL, and there are people who can do wonders with that to fetch things from caches that a security person would find difficult to get. But we are getting help immediately, and we get the data that we need. And you can do the same with services. We have a system of audit trails, and you can push your teams to make sure that they observe the quality of logs. But you can install or you can set up a dependency between two systems. For example, currently we're implementing an arrangement whereby a console search engine works on top of the telemetry that is provided by all services. And this creates a product pressure on services to monitor the quality of event delivery, not just to rely on security that something is wrong. The audit will be noticed by more pairs of eyes, so to say, And this has a positive impact on users. It makes the system more secure. You can work with antagonists and convert them into promoters through
Можно набрать какую-то базу пользователей,
better UX. You can get organically a
внедряли в VBUS.
user base, such as, for example, when we implemented VBUSN,
Как удобно
we
VBUSN, не надо доставать телефон, не надо вводить
showed how convenient it was in terms of
сразу
user interface. You don't want to,
или, опять же, примеры
you don't need to use your finger, you don't want to type any passwords.
удобно
And
хосты через удобство. Мы
again, SSH,
походу в продакшн безопасными, никто не думает, что
we make
для всех
production instances secure and transparent,
не делает каких-то дополнительных телодвижений для того, чтобы сходить в прод.
and there's no need to take any extra steps to go to production, so people are happy to use this tool. And you can look broader. There are other services, other teams. We are a public company, and we have an internal audit that makes sure.
Как раз-таки на панельке поднимали тему финансовой отчетности.
Earlier at the panel today, financial reporting was discussed. Internal audit
Наши контроли, соответственно,
looks at
и они уже
how our controls
можно их попросить немножко
reflect the real life.
сделать не
And you can ask them
или какого-то
to do a report not just for the SOX or the audit,
зрелости,
but to do a more deep dive report on the maturity of processes or our controls,
дополнительных инсайтов
and to get some additional insights
внутреннего аудита, не привлекая подрядчиков.
from your internal audit without engaging any contractors, without spending any additional money or other resources.
И немножко пару слов про то, как у нас устроено.
And a few words about planning and resource management.
Раньше, когда Яндекс.Облако начиналось, оно
When Yandex Cloud started,
модели Амазона, AWS, то есть
it was built under the Amazon AWS model, with a lot of team working together through a well-designed API. And the teams work independently in parallel, not always
с одной
in
стороны,
good coordination with each other. And on the one hand, it's good because it helps you work faster. But when you start to implement or do some cross-team project, it turns into a pain. For example, disk encryption in the Yandex Cloud. It's quite easy to formulate, but it takes the collaboration of 4 teams to make it happen.
и через несколько, ну или там, не знаю, приходишь к другой команде,
And then you go to another team.
хочешь сделать какую-то штуку по безопасности, они
You ask them to implement
сделать, но мы
something in security, and they say, okay, we would be happy, but we have already done our planning, and our planning cycle is 6 months. And so come to us in 6 months, and we'll put it in the plan, whereas you need it now. At some points, we saw that it makes work in an organization less effective.
по Scaled Agile, и
And we all went to Scaled Agile courses, and we implemented a similar framework in our organization. Now we function in iterations, and iteration is approximately a quarter, 12 or 13 weeks of work. And between the quarters, we have 2 weeks for planning and demo. Every area show their demo in terms of what they have done, how they're doing in terms of business, and security also show their demo, what they have achieved over the past quarter.
вот граница кварталов теперь
And so the
синхронизации
boundary between quarters is currently a point of synchronization. The teams have been running for a quarter, and then before they go to the next quarter, they
на границе квартала, второй использовать какой-то блок
exchange their,
для того, чтобы, ну,
or they share their achievements.
не знаю, инцидент, что-то надо сделать ASAP, то всегда есть квота на багфикс и
And there's
блокерная квота для того, чтобы
always
туда
a
добавить.
quote and allocation for bug fixes.
Мы договорились с нашим CTO о ресурсном профиле.
We also have agreed with our CTO on the resource profile, and we don't call it quota for a reason. We call it a profile. We say that it's okay to use some 15 to 30, 35% of time, depending on the team, to
И
security.
штука, которая поощряется со стороны
And it is encouraged
нашей базовой
by the CTO.
CTO.
That is our agreement with them.
Управлением у нас закреплен, или вот у нас закреплен
For
человек
every area,
обычно из обсека,
we have an OPSEC a dedicated OPSEC person. They help the team to plan their security backlog, to include tasks that are security related.
У нас есть разные механизмы.
And in terms of time, monitoring time, we have various time tracking tools, but what matters is not the time tracking itself, but rather allocation of time,
Ну, чтобы команда действительно тратила там
so that
нужный квант времени на задачи безопасности.
the team spends
В начале
the necessary time on security. At the beginning of every quarter, we put together a document with continuing projects
какие проекты должны получить точно фокус внимания.
that are overseen by the CTO and CISO. We agree which projects should be put in focus for a particular quarter.
И рассчитывать ресурсы.
And this is a good planning input so that the teams could plan their resources.
В принципе, у меня все. Какие
And I think
можно сделать то, что на самом
I'm approaching the end of my presentation. Conclusions.
деле
First, 80% has been invented before us. If a CISO comes across a management issue, most likely it has been addressed in engineering management or project management or elsewhere. And that knowledge helps a lot.
по крайней мере, нам удается лучше, и это сильно более
It
эффективно.
is necessary to integrate into processes, and it is much better than to build our own processes that people would have to remember or would tend to forget.
Обратная связь это
And openness and feedback
позволяет вовлечь больше народу и
is something that helps engage more people and get more focus, more attention, more brains that would think over your issues.
по крайней мере,
And
на CISO data.
finally,
Вот, иногда можно посмотреть не на там миллион метрик или
sometimes you can look not at a million of metrics or dashboards that sometimes get covered in dust, but at a much simpler
понятный пример нашей системы координат.
reference.
Рассказывал Леша Миртов на нашей конференции
Alexei
про то, как
Mirtov was giving a good example of it when he talked about cloud providers and security.
примерно такая штука. Это все на сегодня. Всем спасибо.
And that's it from me for today. Thank you very much.
Да, друзья, спасибо, Евгений.
Okay, thank you, Evgeny. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and you will be given a microphone.
Так, ну, в таком... есть один.
Okay, yes, we do have a question.
А я свой не отдам.
Спасибо, Женя. А можешь чуть подробнее
Thank you, Evgeny.
то, что
Can you
такое
please
глаз?
tell a bit more what break glass is?
Глаз — это
Yes, break glass
механизм
is
доступа в продакшн,
a mechanism of
доступа
getting access to production when the regular mechanism doesn't work.
система, которая тебя аутентифицирует.
Say there's a system that authenticates you, and as any IT system may be down
Тебе все равно надо
for a certain reason, but still you've got to go to production to fix it, and you use the break glass. Or you have some circular dependencies between systems. For example, we have Yandex database and we have access control system.
проверяет доступ.
And Yandex database checks access through that database access system, and the database and the access control system works over Yandex database.
Глаз иногда бывает таким механизмом.
So in a situation like that, a break glass mechanism is a good tool.